I've driven rideshare for 6 years. I thought I'd seen everything this city has to offer after dark. But there's one ride I can't explain. Not to myself, not to Engon, it's the one I never logged. The passenger who was never there, the memory of it feels like a cold spot in the room. Something you can't see, but you know it's beside you. And it starts with the sound of a voice so faint, it was almost swallowed by the rain. This particular night in Detroit felt different. A heavy, humid stillness hung over the city, the kind that makes the air feel thick in your lungs. The rain wasn't heavy, just a persistent, oily drizzle that made the asphalt gleam under the streetlights. Most of the downtown skyscrapers were dark, standing like hollowed-out monuments. It was quiet. Too quiet. My shift was almost over. I was tired, ready to head home, just coasting through the empty canyons of glass and steel. That's when the ride request came through. A pin dropped in the middle of a deserted block, nowhere near a bar or a hotel. Just an empty sidewalk under a flickering street lamp. A part of me said to just ignore it. End the night. But another part, the part that pays the bills, won out. I accepted, and that decision is something I carry with me every single night. Asprimeta pulled up. The street lamp above sputtered, casting the area in a strobe of weak, yellow light. For a second, I thought there was no one there. Just the rain, the empty street, and the rhythmic hum of my Camry's engine. Then, in the split second, the light came back on. I saw her, a young woman, standing completely still by the curb. She wore a simple dress, soaked through. Her hair was plastered to her face. I unlocked the doors. She didn't move right away. She just stood there, staring at my car as if she wasn't sure it was real. Finally, she pulled the rear door open and slid inside. The movement was slow, deliberate. The door closed with a soft click, and the silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and unfocused. "Where are we headed tonight?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. She didn't answer for a long moment. Then, a whisper. So quiet I barely caught it. "Just drive," she said, "away from here." The GPS was still waiting for a destination. I asked her for an address, a cross street, anything. She just shook her head slowly, her eyes fixed on the road behind us. That's when I noticed it. She wasn't looking at the cars. She was looking at the spaces between the streetlights. But that wasn't it. The strangest part was the cold. A damp chill filled the car, the kind that sinks right into your bones, and it was coming from the back seat. I started driving, following the main artery out of downtown. The rain picked up, smearing the neon signs into blurry watercolors across my windshield. Every few seconds, my eyes would flick to the rearview mirror. She was perfectly still, a silhouette against the passing city lights. Her stillness was unnatural. It wasn't calm. It was rigid, like someone bracing for impact. I tried to make conversation again. "Tough night?" I asked. Silence. The only sounds were the wipers, the tires on the wet pavement, and my own breathing, which was suddenly feeling a little too loud. Then she spoke again, her voice just as faint, just as unnerving. "They can't see you if you stay in the dark." I didn't know what to say to that. He just nodded, my hands gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. We passed under a bridge, and for a few seconds, we were plunged into complete darkness. When we came out the other side, I glanced in the mirror again. She had leaned forward, her face closer to my seat. "Only drive when the lights flicker," she whispered. Her breath felt like ice on the back of my neck. "Here's where it gets darker." I realized my phone, mounted on the dash, had gone dark. The GPS was gone. The screen was black, and the rain on the windshield was starting to sound like whispers. I was deep in an industrial area now. Rusted factories, chain-link fences, and rows of darkened warehouses. The streetlights here were few and far between, and half of them were broken. It was the perfect backdrop for the unease growing in my gut. I told her, "Look, I need an address. I can't just keep driving." She didn't respond. I looked in the mirror. She was staring straight ahead through the windshield, her eyes fixed on something I couldn't see. Her expression was blank, but her hands were clenched into tight fists in her lap. We passed a long, abandoned brick building, its windows all smashed out. As we drove by, she flinched, a small, sharp movement. "What's wrong?" I asked. She leaned forward again, her voice urgent now, though still a whisper. "Don't stop," she said. "He knows this car." My blood ran cold. I checked my mirrors. The street behind us was completely empty. There were no headlights, no other cars, nothing. Just the rain and the long, dark road. This is where I almost turned the car around. I thought about pulling over, telling her to get out, but her fear, it was contagious. It felt real. So I did what she said. I kept driving, my heart hammering against my ribs, heading deeper into the forgotten parts of the city. The road became rougher, turning from cracked asphalt to something closer to a gravel path. We were somewhere on the edge of the city, where industry gives way to overgrown fields. The rain had finally stopped, but a thick fog was rolling in, clinging to the ground and swallowing the beams of my headlights. The world outside my car had shrunk to just a few feet of visibility. The silence was absolute. I risked another look in the rearview mirror. She was gone. My heart jumped into my throat. I slammed on the brakes, the tires skidding on the wet gravel. I turned around, my eyes scanning the empty back seat. The seatbelt was still buckled. The spot where she sat was dry. There was no sign that anyone had ever been there. The door hadn't opened. I would have heard it. The interior light would have come on. She couldn't have gotten out. She just wasn't there anymore. I sat there for what felt like an hour, the engine idling, the fog pressing in on all sides. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. Had I imagined it? Was I that tired? But I remembered her voice. I remembered the cold. I remembered the feeling of her breath on my neck. What she told me next still keeps me awake, but she wasn't there to say it. The thought just appeared in my head, clear as day, in her whispered voice. "The night remembers." I unbuckled the rear seatbelt. My hand was shaking. I got out of the car, into the cold, damp air. The fog was so thick, I could barely see the front of my own vehicle. There were no houses, no lights, no signs of life, just the hum of my engine and the dripping of water from the trees. I called out her name, even though I never knew it. "Hello?" My voice sounded small, swallowed by the oppressive silence. No reply. I walked around the car, my footsteps loud on the gravel. Nothing. No footprints. No sign of a struggle. It was as if she had dissolved into the air. I stood there for a long time, the chill of the night seeping into my jacket, my mind refusing to accept what had happened. There was no logical explanation. People don't just vanish from inside a moving car. They don't leave behind a buckled seatbelt and an unnerving cold. I finally got back in, turned the car around, and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to see streetlights again. I needed to see other cars. I needed proof that the world was still solid. When my phone screen finally flickered back to life, it was 3:44 a.m. The ride history was empty. There was no record of the pickup. No destination. No fare. It never happened. I never drove through that part of Detroit again. Some nights, when I'm driving late and the streets are empty, I'll see a flickering streetlight and my hands will tighten on the wheel. I'll check my rearview mirror, half expecting to see her pale face looking back at me. The memory of that ride doesn't fade. It's become a part of the night for me. A constant, quiet reminder that there are some stories that don't have an ending, some questions you're not supposed to ask. You just drive on, leaving them behind you in the darkness. But you never really leave them at all. If this felt too real, say something below. The night remembers more than we think.